Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Exceeding the Crown. If you don't know, my name is Brittany Joy, and this season, Exceeding the Crown presents Divorce, Not Damage. And today, we are talking about stopping pain-based identity. Listen, this conversation is going to be healing, I'm telling you. So, let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Exceeding the Crown. This conversation on stopping pain-based identity is going to be healing. I have a beautiful guest here. Her name is Jami Kimsey. And listen, if you are ready for a tearjerker, for somebody that's going to speak into your soul, keep watching because this is where it's going to go. And I know it. Every time we have a conversation, that's where it goes. So let's get into a little bit of conversation. First, let's introduce you. Tell the people a little bit about yourself. How long were you married? And children, what you do, what's your career life like? Because you're a very important woman.
Yeah. Oh, am I? Okay, good to know. All right. You're inspiring me already. This is awesome. Yeah. So I'm Jami Kimsey. As you said, am I supposed to look at you at the camera? What am I supposed to do?
And you can look at me, you can talk to the people. You know what I mean?
All right. You can tell this is my first time doing a podcast. This is fun. So I'm Jami. I am 38 years old, almost 39. I work for the Department of Defense as a civilian. I've worked with them for almost 17 years. From Maryland originally. Mm-hmm. Went to college in Tennessee, so fell in love with the Southeast during my college stint. I'm back. I actually just came back. It's been a little over a year, but I spent 6 years in Germany with the DoD. So I came back last September. And have been in Georgia since. Mm-hmm. Met my now ex-husband in college. So we were together for 15 years, married for 12. And we can get into this more later, but infidelity was very much part of our divorce story, I'll say. So found out about all of that last September. So still pretty fresh. Yeah. And our divorce was final this past June. So coming up on not even, close to a year, but it'll be June this year will be 1 year. I have a sweet, precious, I call him baby boy. He's not so baby anymore, but he turns 3 in March.
Definitely not baby boy anymore.
Hard to believe, and I need to start calling him baby, so he doesn't act like one. Yeah. Right? So mom's out there. But yeah, the DoD has been my entire career outside of work. Love to travel. Being in Germany for 6 years was incredible. Got to see, I wouldn't say the world, but a lot of Europe and that region, and just an amazing experience. Jamison, my son, was born in Germany, which was really cool. Love fitness. Yeah, I actually, and this might be part of this conversation, but I need to find myself some hobbies.
Yeah.
But I love to work out. I love to travel. I love being a mom.
Yeah.
And I've been learning that about myself a lot these past 3 years, right? That being a mom it's not a job, right? It is in some regard, but I love it. Yeah. I love it. And I think I'm becoming comfortable with that being part of what I love to do, and even a hobby in some cases. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
There's a lot of fulfillment in being a parent. Absolutely. So we've definitely had conversations about your divorce.
Yeah.
And because of those conversations, that's why I really love that you're here, a part of this topic. Do you want to give a little summary about what happened, so that way they have that connection on why we're talking about stopping pain-based identity?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So it's strange to say ex-husband. Mm-hmm. I will say I keep wanting to say husband, ex-husband. Now, we worked together. So we were very much in the same circles in many different contexts, right? Social, obviously family, and professional. So part of my story is a lot of what happened being very public. And I'm not a very, I would say I'm an open and vulnerable person, but I'm guarded. Mm-hmm. So that being very public was really hard for me. And I think that goes into play with this whole conversation on pain-based identity, right? And now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, yes, I'm having that realization, like real time. So I would say had an extremely strong marriage, what I thought was an extremely strong marriage, my first marriage, right? So I didn't really have anything to compare it to, but grew up, my parents have a very strong marriage, just surrounded by just good families, strong families. And so I had that as a baseline and thought that I had that. Um, I've had to accept that I will likely never know why this happened, right? The timeline's very unclear. I will say about my third trimester of being pregnant with my son, Jamison, something switched. It's hard to make that tangible and put that into words, but something just felt different in our marriage. And Jamison was born in March of 23. So he spent the first year and a half of his life in Germany before we PCS'd, came back to the States. Sorry, I'm using government terminology there, PCS. Yeah, so it was just very, I'll say before, and this kind of goes into the finding identity outside of motherhood. I don't want to jump ahead, but before having Jamison, I would have very intentional conversations with my now ex-husband about I don't want to be so hyper focused on being a parent that we lose sight of us as a couple, and that happened. And I was so frustrated because I didn't know. I was trying to be so intentional about that not happening, but it just felt off. And then Jamison became my focus because I just wasn't getting the attention, I would say, from my ex-husband that I was, used to. Just not attention to me, but just attention to our marriage. And it just felt very different. So anyways, fast forward, things were off very shortly after getting back to the States in September of 24. It was right before the hurricane hit the local area. I had what I say was a figurative hurricane hit my life in a very public way. Actually, on our 12th wedding anniversary, it was exposed.
Yeah.
It wasn't just him and me in the room. I'll say that. My son was upstairs taking a nap, and it's so strange to think back to that time, but and how it came out. But I remember him walking towards me, and things just kept escalating, right, with rumors, and I just kept denying it, right? And I'm like, there's no way. Unfortunately, the woman in the situation, I know her. She was also married, now divorced. We were all what I would classify as friends in Germany. She was an employee of my ex-husband's. So he unfortunately lost employment due to the situation. So again, very public, very personal, but also so many just complexities and levels to this. And I had to get over the embarrassment and shame, right? I think shame is a strong word, but I would say that was very much in play for me. So yeah, there's so many details. So I'll stop talking right now. And I don't want to.
I feel like that's the purpose of the podcast. I never feel like that's why we're here.
Sure. There's just this. It's just everyone's story is, so many details, so many complexities. So I could go into many, many more, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah. So just for anybody that doesn't know, like where we work, Jami is highly visible and she is a senior leader. And so when she says like, this is public for her, you're sitting in a high seat and so is your husband, and people know that you're married, and this comes out, and it's almost like for, in that Germany, in our agencies, like feels like the world is watching. Like the world now sees this. Like
it absolutely does.
And because our world is small.
Yeah.
It's big, but it's very small.
Especially in Germany. Because you're talking, right? Like, I mean, even where we are now is small, but we're talking like percentage of, so everybody knows everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that the pain of what was going on started taking shape when it came to your identity?
Almost immediately. So I mentioned I call it the exposure, right? The great exposure. I hope it's the worst day of my life. I don't know what God has in store for me the rest of my life, right? But
Yeah.
I also know that my resilience has built through this. I feel that now. So hopefully I'm prepared. I know He'll prepare me for whatever has to come, but just such a horrific day. Horrific day. I would say almost immediately. The very first thing that I did, I mentioned that my son was upstairs taking a nap. Came back in the house. I can't even describe how it felt, right? Like when you like realize something that happened and it's there and you're like just in your face, in your face. I walked upstairs and my baby boy was sleeping soundly. And as a mother watching your child sleep, there's nothing more peaceful. And I just remember sitting on the floor and just watching him sleep. And I felt so, oh gosh, it's even hard to put into words. Whiplashed in a way. Like it was just the pain it was so, I've obviously been through physical pain. Again, the moms out there, you get it. I had never experienced that emotional pain. And again, so hard to put into words. But I remember just watching Jamison and I'm like, I got to do it. I got to do this. I have a child. I have a child. And I just, again, immediate. And then it just showed up almost every minute of every day. I started journaling soon after. I'm not a journaler, but I started journaling probably just several weeks after the exposure. And I was looking back, actually, in preparation for this conversation, I was looking back at my journal entries, which, side note, was extremely comforting that I could actually go back and read some of my journal entries. I couldn't have done that several months ago. And I looked back at a very, very early on journal entry after the exposure, and I wrote, every second of every day has a trigger. And so when you talk about when I realized pain becoming like part of my identity, that's when I had that realization early on of everywhere I looked, everything I watched, everything I read, everything I did. So I was, when you're with someone, and I look at marriage as you are one with someone. When you're one with someone for 15 years, 12 years of marriage, it's all of a sudden, it's everything has a reminder. It was, things when I had to return back to work, interactions with people were harder. It's hard to explain, right? I had a much harder time accepting compliments or thank yous. It was just like, I just felt like everything was just hard. And it makes sense when you classify it as pain-based identity. I'm like, that's what I was experiencing. Yeah.
How was it like so it's not like when the exposure happens, it's not like we get leave for that.
Yeah.
So the exposure happens, and you still have to show up.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oof. Yeah. And when you say show up in so many different contexts. Show up for Jamison, as a mom. Showing up as a friend, as a family member, as an employee. Oh my gosh. I think that I know that I put more pressure on myself than anyone else did, right? It was just that I felt just this such heavy guilt. I'm not even sure how many days, honestly, Brittany. There were multiple days where I woke up in the morning and I was like, can't do it today.
Mm.
I can't go to work because I love authenticity is huge to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to show up the way that I was feeling that day and just put on a face. Some days I did.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed through, and I did. I'll admit, it was a face in some regard. But I had to there were days where I had to call my boss, and I was very intentional to share my story with my boss in a very close circle at work, especially early on, because I was like, I know I'm going to need the support.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to have the support, I need people to know some level of detail about what I'm going through. So I just had to give myself that self-grace and let go, talk myself through the guilt of it's okay that you can't show up today.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very intentional of not, if I didn't show up to work, I made myself show up in a different way. And it was very tempting to curl up in a ball, figuratively and literally. And I had to talk myself through that of, okay, you're not going to work today, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing for yourself to move forward? You're not just going to crawl back in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't because I had my son
who
wasn't in daycare just yet, right? Because we just got back to the States. And so I knew that I couldn't do that. But even in my own head, I'm like, you're not going to curl up in a ball.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to work, what are you going to do?
So what were those things that you did in order to like separate or allow you to show up in the midst of the pain or in order to get over the pain?
Yeah. Great question. Got out of my comfort zone in many different ways. I found a therapist. I actually was going to my sister's church at the time, and I don't remember where I saw it. It was on the back of a door, and it was an advertisement for support groups that the church was offering. And one was, I'm just chuckling because I'm like, it wasn't a coincidence, right?
No.
It was not a coincidence. It was a support group for women for partner betrayal trauma. And I was like, that's for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not something I would typically do. But I immediately, pulled the contact information, immediately emailed the point of contact, and I got hooked up with that group. Again, my therapist, I was very mindful about what I was feeding into my brain, into my spirit, into my soul, right? Very intentional about the things that I was reading, the people that I was surrounding myself with and relying on. So it was those types of things, even if it was something as simple as I'm going for a walk today, whether it's with Jamison or while he's napping, right? Whenever I could fit it in. And that'll be showing up today. And I'll listen to something that helps challenge me or helps get in my spirit in a positive way. Yeah, very, very, I would call micro, simple things, but extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Because it, again, kept me from curling up in a ball.
What did that teach you about you?
Oh, that's a deep question. You mean what did
in the midst of the pain, in the midst of having to show up?
Yeah. Yeah. It was empowering in a way to realize how much strength is actually in me that I think I would always say that I was a strong person, not at that level. Not at that level. Yeah, so it and I say it's empowering because I'm like, okay, like I got this. I have my days, I have my moments, right? But just and again, I don't want to make this a faith-based conversation, but faith is huge in my life. And I'm a firm believer that I was being prepared for what I keep calling the great exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how, again, the strength and the focus. I'm a very, very focused person, but knowing that like I was able to cling on to my truth and my faith, and faith is my truth. And so it was just, again, empowering, validating. It just reinforced the strength and the focus.
Yeah. So in that and learning that, how is that helping you today? When you've gone through this, you've had the self-realization, you were operating out of a pain-based identity. How is coming on the other side of that? How does that help you show up today?
So many ways. Even the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you about this, mind blown. If you would have told me that I'd be doing this. So again, the great exposure was last October. If you were to tell me as recently as, I would say, March of this past year, wouldn't have believed you. Like, there's no way. I wouldn't be able to talk about it. So I think just for the reflection of it all, even going back and looking at journal entries, there's another one that really stood out to me when I was kind of coming up with a common theme through my journal entries. And the theme that I came up with was ultimate. And I actually made a journal entry, kind of a reflection. And it was like almost on a weekly or monthly basis, I would coin like the phase that I was in. And I would frame it in that theme of ultimate. So it started out as ultimate rejection, ultimate betrayal, ultimate pain, ultimate, like it was these, what you would call, I think most people would call negative things. And then I started to see positive things sprinkled in. Ultimate reflection, ultimate healing, ultimate, and then it would kind of jump back to ultimate disappointment, right? Something that was a little more on the negative side. But I noticed it was just so cool to look back at this journal entry, because I noticed that those negative things would still show up, but they were showing up less and less. And the positive things were showing up more and more. And I had this visual of the healing journey. And I think I'm not an expert, right, on this. I know I can speak for my own healing journey. And I'm pretty confident that in anyone's healing journey, if it's a healthy one, right, if they're taking care of themselves through it, that if you zoom out enough, it's a zigzag, right? When you're on the path, it's whiplash, right? It's a zigzag. But when you zoom out enough, you see the line becomes more linear and less jagged. Is that their word? And it's a positive trajectory, right? So, but if you're in it, and if you're like too focused on being on the zigzag, you're not going to see. So just taking a step back and looking at it from a very zoomed out way, and like, okay, it's okay if I zig or zag this way, or even backwards. Because there are times where I still feel like I'm like, I just feel like I took 10 steps backward. What is this backwards thing? I don't like it, right? Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question. I think it's more just showing up today, just the reflection. And it just inspires me even just this past week, I had a morning where I woke up, and I think everyone can relate to this. Like, we all have our morning routines, right? Of like, how do you get to that point where you're like, I'm doing this day, like I'm doing it. And sometimes it takes me 10 minutes laying in bed to be like mentally work through it. Like, nope, calling out today, not feeling it. And I'm like, no, Jami, like, and that's where I walk myself through remember those days where you felt this way and you did it anyways, and something came out of that day that was a blessing, that was an inspiration that's now part of your healing journey. That's going to happen today. So get up and do it, right? So I think it's the reflection of it all.
Yeah. So, like, what would be your advice for someone that may be still in that place of pain-based identity, now that you've I don't want to say that like you've completely accomplished it, because like what you just said, there's sometimes we take 10 steps back, or
Yeah.
sometimes we thought we were something over something and then it triggers us and you're like,
Yeah.
I thought I was healed from that.
Yeah.
But being as far as you are now,
Mhm.
the fact that you can reflect,
Mhm.
what would you say to somebody that may be where you were at the great exposure?
Yeah. I would say I'm chuckling at this too. This was literally within, I was going to say weeks, but probably days of the great exposure. Multiple people, and you were one of them, actually, my friend, my beautiful friend, would say you likely won't be able to hear this or accept it. You probably don't want to hear it, honestly. But multiple people said it is going to get so much better. You remember saying that to me? Yep. And I think you even said you probably don't want to hear this right now. But the fact that I'm now on that other side where I can say to people, and hopefully, perhaps people listening, of it is going to get better.
So much better.
Don't, like, even if you can't hear it right now, and
Mhm.
you're mad at me for saying that, right? Because there's something inside you're like, you don't know, like,
You don't know my pain.
there's no way. The way I'm feeling right now, there's no way it's gonna get better, right?
Yeah.
But it does. It absolutely does. And I would say part of my reflection too was I anchored myself on something, right? So that would be my advice: is find an anchor, whatever that is,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's your faith, whether it's something that sparked motivation or inspiration, something. I will admit, I got my first tattoo, right? So through this, and it's actually a reminder of my anchor.
Mm.
It was a song that, again, preparation for leading up to the great exposure. I believe that a song was brought to me. I was up all night the night before it all came out, all the news came out, and it was one specific song. And my tattoo has captures a lot of references from that song. And that is, I get a glimpse of it in the mirror, random times. And I'm like, that's my anchor of, reminder of, all the things that it represents. So I would say it gets better. It will get better. Absolutely will get better. And find an anchor, whatever that is, a healthy anchor.
Healthy, yeah.
Healthy
Let's
anchor.
make sure a healthy anchor.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there are, and it's tempting to go down, because I think unhealthy anchors are actually easier. I think they're easier to find. They're more in your face. They're more obvious. They're more tempting, right? So healthy anchor. And there's questions of what's healthy versus unhealthy. You got to work through that.
Yeah.
Maybe not with just yourself.
Yeah.
Because you might not be in a place with yourself.
You know what the healthy anchor is. Like, almost like accountability. Somebody has to be accountable to your healthy anchor.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that someone that you trust, someone that is in a healthy place themselves, of, right, talk through that with them. But yeah, healthy anchor is what I would say as advice.
Well, before we end, what's the song for the tattoo? You can't just leave us on a cliff like that. Like, what's the song?
Okay, so again, I feel like I keep going back to the faith thing, but it's huge. It's
a part of you.
It's a huge part of my story. The song is "Reckless Love."
Yeah.
I had never heard it.
You've never heard the song?
I had never. So
I
will admit, we wasn't in church during our time in Germany.
Oh, okay.
So I was like kind of out of the loop with, faith-based songs. And anyways, heard it and then went to church the next morning. Of course, they were singing it at the church service.
Yeah, there's no coincidence.
So if you're familiar with the song, or if you're not, there's lyrics in there that talk about there's no shadows he won't light up, he being God, right? There's no mountain he won't climb up. There's no wall he won't kick down. I hope I'm getting the lyrics right. But my tattoo's based off of that, right? It has a reference to a sun, an actual sun, about, lighting up shadows, and just the reminder that I'm worth, climbing up a mountain for, that
God sees you.
That God sees me.
Yeah.
He sees me.
Yeah.
So that's the song.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this tattoo. If you've never listened to Reckless Love,
Yeah.
please go listen to it, because I cannot believe that you just heard about it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's a beautiful song. And it is a reminder of just how much he really does love us. It's a beautiful song. So for everyone that has watched this, I hope this conversation was healing for you. I hope you were able to take some things about her journey and what she's gone through. And I definitely want to end on the note. I did tell Jami this, and I'm going to tell everybody this. If you are where she was, it gets so much better.
Amen.
Okay. Until next time, go have a great day. Bye.